Oops, clunky start, huh? Hello, everybody, and welcome to my workshop. As you know, this is part of the Alesh Tunes Up series. And if you don't know, now you know. This is something I do every week. And I focus on topics that are related to team ideation, employee engagement, effective communication, and employee or learning experience. And, a couple of other things that I believe tie into the topic of good leadership. So today is my favorite day because we are talking about this. We are talking about Lego and Lego, I gotta say, not Legos. So if you didn't know, it's only singular. You never say Legos. You already learned something. So what are we talking about today? Except Lego, of course. We are talking about how we can use Lego in business context to solve problems and take care of collective ideation within teams, and also some other topics that it can actually cover. So basically what it does is it uses a specific methodology that we call Lego serious play, and we're going to cover it in a bit, to solve problems collectively, allow very democratic and tactile experience for all participants, and bring the best from people when it comes to new fresh ideas. And if you haven't used it till now, maybe you haven't even heard of it, today I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why you absolutely should. So let's get right to it. First of all, what is Lego serious play? So Lego Serious Play is a methodology that uses standard Lego bricks to facilitate thinking or decision-making process of groups, but also of individuals. I can tell you that just fiddling with those can help you come up with better decisions. This method is basically based around successive steps when the team members are building specific models. Then they are describing their models and creating narrative around what those models represent. And then they discuss collaboratively together what it means and how they can use the learnings for the benefit of the team, company, you name it. So what do you actually need to run that? There are, of course, multiple ways of doing that. The simple thing you would need is some Lego bricks and some know-how. I'm gonna provide a little bit of know-how in here so we know how to start playing with it. For something complex, if you really want to have a full-blown workshop with your team, you would need a certified facilitator or someone who is pretty knowledgeable about the method. I happen to be both. So if you want to know more about it, you want to see how this would fit into what you're doing, this is a shameless plug already at the beginning. You can just direct message me and find me on LinkedIn, and we can have a talk, and I'll tell you what I think it would take for your specific needs. The beauty of this thing is it can really be used for a variety of topics. So it is not a standard workshop, such as, let's say, situational leadership. It is really a methodology that allows a builder, a designer, such as myself, to prepare a custom workshop with this methodology that would allow you to achieve what you need to achieve. But let's start from the beginning. So how did this actually came to be? This method has a very interesting history. It is something that's been and oops, I see I have some dropping connection. So hopefully you can still hear me and see me. And what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to use this opportunity to ask you about it. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, if you can see Lego, please type in the chat, where are you joining us from? Where are you right now? And how did you happen to stumble on a Lego workshop? I'd like to see that. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments on this, please put them in a chat, put them in the comments next to the event. You see them rolling in there. I will actually pick them up and answer the questions as we go. So getting back to the short history overview of the Lego Serious Play, it's something that, as you probably know, Lego is dealing with topics of education since its inception. They are dedicated sets for school kids. They are dedicated sets for education. There's a lot of stuff related also to work with technology. But Lego Serious Play is a little bit of an oddball. So since 1990s, this is something that was supposed to create a really complex methodology of problem solving and team thinking. I see. Hi, Olivier. Coming from London. Nice, nice, nice. We're gonna get back. We're gonna get back to that. Anybody else? If you want to share with us where you're joining us from, please use the chat, use the comments. I'm gonna get back to any questions or curiosity you might have, assuming I'm not gonna cover it right now. So, as I said, the methodology was developed and evolved in the 1990s. Originally, the idea was to patent it and kind of trademark it, but that didn't work all that well. It didn't get enough traction in this sense. So now it's a free methodology that anyone can use. Of course, when it comes to its actual application, it requires some experience. So what's the Lego part about it? The methodology is freely available. You can Google it. You can read all about it. The bricks you need for that are basically any bricks that kind of fit certain parameters, and I'm going to talk about them in a bit. But Lego is still developing and producing the Lego Serious Play dedicated sets. I have one of them in here. We're going to talk about what these sets actually are, what's special about them in a minute. So the methodology itself is interesting for several reasons. One of them is it's one of the very few things, if you think about it, that employs different faculties of your brain than talking. There are some methods that allow for visual imagining as well. So you have methodologies that allow people to draw their ideas. You use flip chart, maybe you use post-it notes, maybe you use things like that. So you oftentimes, let's say, augment the verbal part with visuals in workshops or in team building. And there are actual, of course, virtual tools for that as well. Lego does this greatly as well, but it's 3D, which is of course better when it comes to visualization, and it allows something on top of that no other standard method of ideation or collective decision making has, and that's the tactile element. Uh, of course, we as humans were designed to use all of our senses, and when it comes to the sense of touch, you don't really use it at work unless you want to be escalated with HR for inappropriate behaviors. So Lego Serious Play method is actually tactile. It allows you to create ideas through employing your touch as well. Since some of you might be only listening to this as a podcast episode, I'm also gonna overly describe what I'm showing on the screen. So one example might be this. This is just a simple brick, and it's actually not a Lego brick. It's a Duplo brick that some of your Lego fanatics may know, and it's a transparent blue 2x4 brick. This brick, just by existing, allows usually people to form associations. These associations may be positive, like, okay, that's blue skies, that's ideation, that is open horizons for the company. But you can also use the very same brick in potentially more complex models to represent deep waters, uncharted territories, something that's actually dangerous. And by touching it, by using it, by combining it potentially with other bricks, you can come up with more complex creations. And sometimes the ideas will come to you through fiddling and playing with the object, in this case, Lego bricks. If you want to look into science for this, you will find a lot of evidence and studies that are actually stating that during meetings, when people are fidgeting, playing with their pens, playing with paper, thinking. It doesn't mean that they are disengaged. It actually means that they are employing these parts of their brain. So even if you're not using Lego, good tip in here is let people do some fidgeting. It actually helps. With Lego, you do it in a structural way. So you have people build a little models that represent their thoughts. And through building, people can actually form these thoughts that didn't exist before. So one example would be just using very, very simple models. In this case, those are 3 Lego minifig heads with some plants and lights growing out of their heads. And people just with these simple models are able to create very, very strong associations with, smart team with bright ideas. And of course, this can represent different things. But the point is, the person who's building it is using their tactile faculties. They are more connected with the model. Then they describe what they meant by the model. And when it comes to the other people participating on the workshops, who are the audience in this case, these people can form very strong memories and associations with these models. It's just way more memorable than if you write, a team who is good at ideation on a post-it note or on a flip chart. People are usually able to recall and remember the ideas that were represented by the models weeks and months after the workshop. So that's another huge advantage. So I mentioned it's tactile. I mentioned it is actually something that's memorable. And the third thing that is amazing, and it's very difficult to emulate by other methods, is that it's very democratic. And what I mean by that is through the structured sequences that I mentioned, when everybody in the team is building, and don't think about long building, think about 3 to 5 minute building sprints, then everybody is describing what they built and what their models actually mean. And again, this takes like 1 minute per person. And then people are discussing what they built and they form connection of these individual models. What this means is that you can create like a level playing field for everybody present in the session. Because how does a normal brainstorming session usually go? You have the talkers in the team who just talk and talk all the time, usually strong personalities with sometimes a lot of knowledge, sometimes a lot of self confidence. Then you would have people who are more laid back or detached, and they would not contribute quite as much. We can use the terms extroverts, introverts, but these are kind of oversimplifications. But you know what I have in mind. So in a normal meeting of, let's say, 10 people, you would have 2 or 3 who would talk 80% of the time. And you would have at least one person who will not talk at all. This method forces everybody to form their thoughts through building them. It forces everybody to talk through them because remember, everybody has to build, everybody has to share, and no one can talk about anything else but the model, which means it's much easier to actually keep the discussion contained on the topic. So what models, you might ask, right? I did show you a couple of things in here. So does it mean that everybody is building whatever they want? No, not really. Here comes the facilitator and the session design. So what exactly you ask people to build depends on the purpose of the session. And the facilitator is there to assign what people are building. So this could be, for example, an assignment to build the ideal team as it would look a year from now. So if there was one thing that should change in our team within the next 12 months, what would it be? Build a model of it, and then you show us. You can ask about something completely different. You can ask about blockers. So think about a biggest blocker to our team success. What would it be? I mentioned the tactile part of the thinking in here. So you are asking people to build something. You don't ask them to think first and build next. The thinking is happening through the building. So rather than think what you're building, then build it, then show us, you want people to start building immediately and the ideas will emerge. This method is incredibly conductive for coming up with new ideas, and I highly recommend it even for individuals. Just having the sets available for fidgeting helps a lot when you feel you're out of ideas. So I mentioned the main advantages. It is tactile. It is very memorable. It is democratic, leveling the playing field for everybody. But there is even more to that. So if you want to know a little bit about the methodology beyond what you can Google, I'm just gonna show you a couple of examples. So suppose you want to test it out, right? You suppose you want to see how this could play out. I'm gonna show you how you can use it as an icebreaker or very small ideating session. I'm gonna show you how you can use it for something a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna give you like a taste of how this would look like in case you wanted to go to a full-blown workshop. So first of all, the icebreaker part. The best way you can use Lego is give people a selection of bricks and ask them to pick a brick that represents the way they feel in a moment. Of course, it's good for that to have a set with various different bricks to have something interesting. For example, this that might represent a bunch of things. Maybe you want something. Let me see what I got. Maybe you want something that represents building or gears. But we talk about the brick selection just in a minute. So one easiest part, hey, use the bricks, let people kind of play with them and let them pick the brick that represents how they feel. But you can go better than that. There's a dedicated set that is currently unfortunately out of production, but it's pretty easy to source the bricks. If you have issues with that, just direct message me, we talk about it. And that's called the duck. So the duck set is literally these 6 bricks, and or I should say it's actually 4 bricks and 2 plates. It's a selection of yellow and red bricks. One of the bricks has little eyes on it, as you can see, or you can't see if you're just listening to this. But you need to take my word for it. If you look up or Google Lego the duck, you will find it. So basically, this is the selection. You really just have these bricks, nothing else. Let me see if I can. Yes, now it's in focus, and you give them to people. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny set. It's a good meeting startup. You say, hey, why don't you build a duck? And people build a duck. It's very easy to build a duck from 4 yellow and 2 red pieces. But surprise, surprise, of course, not everybody builds the same thing because there are no instructions. And you can already start a meeting with a very, very strong point suggesting, yeah, you got the same assignment, you got the same building blocks, yet each of you ended up with a different model. There are dozens and dozens of options how to build a duck. You can even ask them in step 2 to modify the duck a little bit to represent how they feel. And this is a very good strong message that you can send at the very beginning. So using this as an opener is pretty cool. I would suggest that, and it works like a charm. And there are more complex sets. And the good news is that these sets are actually available for sale even today. There's a set for ideation that is called startup set. Let me just find the serial number in here. And this startup set is something that contains this set of bricks. Let me just zoom in a little bit. It's a simple polybag that is available and fairly cheap. I'm gonna check for you the price now. The problem with the set is, okay, let's start with the good news. The good news is this is a cheap, affordable set that you can get, and you can get them in numbers for participants in a workshop, and it allows ideation sessions for anything between uh, 10 minutes to 2 3 hours, and you can do wonders with that, even as something that enriches a workshop or a thinking session for a different topic that doesn't heavily rely on Lego otherwise. The downside is Lego does provide them only currently in the sets of 100. So you literally have to buy a big box of 100 of those sets. And when it comes to the pricing, it's right now. Let me see. It's available. Okay, I don't see it right here, but it's normally available. And the set, one set per one person, I think the price was under €4 per person. So fairly affordable. You can use it for multiple workshops, and it works well even with large groups of people. So if you have a large event with dozens and dozens of people, this will still work. And if you want to do something deeper, something really more focused, then you want to go for a specific dedicated set. I would recommend that for workshops when you want to go in depth. You want to go for longer sessions, let's say around 4 hours up to 2 days, and this is for deep problem solving. That would be this set I showed earlier, and it's a set with a very long serial number that is 2000414, and this is a set that costs something about 25 to 28 euros, and you would need one per participant. What it allows, though, it has much larger selection of pieces. I have one deconstructed in here, so it's over 200 pieces. It allows for long and in-depth sessions, and most of the models I'm presenting here are using this one. So those are the options in here. You can go even further when there are specialized sets to build connections among sets, but I'm not going to cover that one at all, because that's something that your facilitator would bring and buy for themselves. It's not usually something that you would need for the session. It is something the facilitator would bring and use. So how would that usually work? What would you usually need to know? So if you buy one of those serious play sets, the 27 euro set, it comes with this little booklet, and the booklet gives you some ideas about what you can do and how you should progress through the building if you want to use it for a workshop. But this is not really all you need. This is just a little bit, like a little sliver of the information. And so to give you a sense, this is the actual facilitation manual that you get if you if you get facilitation certification, as I have. So there is more science to it, there is more depth to it, and I would not really recommend to go into a full day workshop with Lego Serious Play using just a little booklet, because then you're not properly prepared. You are not utilizing the opportunities with Lego. I would say it's more of a waste of time. So those are the basic options. Now we can talk about a little bit about the group sizes. I mentioned it already, but let's review that. So for the opener ideation sessions, you can use that with large groups. You can easily distribute it even for virtual meetings. If you're delivering swag to people, I would recommend to consider this as a swag, especially if you use it in a session. The same goes with these ideation bags. And when it comes to the large box that I mentioned, the 27 euro set, this is good for workshops for anything between 5 to 15 people. If you want a larger session, it's doable, but then it's becoming a little bit more complex, and you would probably need more facilitators. The larger session, dedicated sessions, work best in face-to-face modality. You can do them virtually, but it's trickier because really big part of the workshop is the ability to share the models in real space and having the 3D experience. Also, one of the segments of the workshops, if you prepare a longer, more complex one, is usually building common models when all participants have a hands-on approach and build something together, or they do something we could call landscaping, when you kind of position the individual models into scenarios that are meaningful for participants. So that also requires people to have hands on the models, and that means to be physically in the same room. So that would be the group size. That would be the pieces. That would be partially also the pricing of it. So think about the price per participant that you would need to suffer if you wanted to use it for larger groups. And of course, you might ask, I mean, why all that hassle? What's the point of that? So I already mentioned some of the advantages, but there's more to that. I mentioned of course it's tactile. It unlocks parts of your brain that normally remain underutilized. It is democratic, so it is something that brings everyone together with the same cards or same chips to begin with, literally speaking. And it's very memorable, meaning you have the aftermath of the session imprinted in the mind of everybody. But that's not it, of course. That's not just it. What is this method great for is to allow the groups to look at the old problems or existing problem through the different lens. Um, Oftentimes, the Lego serious play methodology is used when the team already tried other methods. They tried something simpler, it didn't really work, or it didn't move anywhere. A standard brainstorming session would just let people sit in the room and stare at a blank whiteboard, not being able to come up with anything. Or even worse, everybody would be coming up with the same ideas that they already presented before. So if you wanna kind of shake it up, if you wanna unlock new possibilities for the team, this method is great, and I highly recommend it. It's also really good if you wanna resolve a situation when people have very different opinions when it comes to the ideal solution. That's something that is usually getting teams stuck. This is something that might lead into re-narrating the old scenarios rather than coming up with something new. So I would recommend it even for that. Um, since I'm talking in here for 30 minutes, I'm actually going to ask everybody who's watching, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you'd like to know, anything I didn't cover yet, please put your question in the comment or in the chat, whatever you see on your screen, and I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna pick it up right now. In the meantime, let me actually check if we already have something in the pipeline, and I'm gonna answer one question that I'm usually getting when it comes to this methodology. So People are often asking, or they are often scared that this will only support, or this will favor participants who have extensive Lego building experience. This is not really true, because the way you are using this methodology is not to ask people to build the most beautiful or the most true representation of an actual object. You're not building like a perfect model. What you are trying to do instead is you are building metaphors, and a metaphor doesn't need to be complex. So, for example, this bit could be, and often is, a metaphor for many people, for creative thinking, creative ideas, or growth. If you're just listening, this bit is actually like a green bush with the upward pointing branches. So that's something that allows even people with no art skills, no ambition to build complex models, to contribute just by saying, okay, this bit for me is ideation. Uh, Also, this method is actually very, very forgiving. I know in many meetings, or many workshops, there you can utilize the skills of participants. I mentioned it earlier, but even that is very intimidating for some people. Like, some people just don't like to draw, because if you draw something, you tend to compare, and that's pretty human. You compare what you've created with the creation of your peers. And with drawing, unfortunately, it's very easy to see one drawing as nicer, more skilled than the other one. With Lego, it's not the case. It's very forgiving. All the models will look good. It's just bricks, right? Somehow assembled together. It's very hard to build something else, like a ugly or underdeveloped. It's very egalitarian. So this way, even the people who are, skilled Lego builders or Lego fanatics, you can still easily put them into the same room with people who never play with Lego. Even that is possible. I'm very sorry if that's you, if that happened to you in your childhood, that they your parents kept Lego secrets from you. But even those people can easily. And the reason also is that we are using at the beginning of each workshop some essential skill building rounds that allow people very quickly to pick up these skills. So that would be one thing that is often asked. If what is potential also asked is, if you can do that virtually. That was a big deal during pandemics. I already mentioned that some of the simple things can be done virtually. Some of them cannot. So I would not use it for the most complex stuff, but we did use it actually last year for a big conference of, I believe it was 180 people. We use it as a swag, and we challenge participants to use this little polybag to create something. Created a little bit of a competition. All right, so that would be the other concern, or the other question. Last question I'm gonna pick up in here, and then I check if you have any questions. If you have any questions yourself. So as I said, if you have questions, you should see a comment bar on the side. Please put your question in the comments. I'm gonna pick it up right now, and happy to answer that. And what is the last question I often get is, what is so special about those bricks? Why should I pay, 27 euros for a Lego set when I already have Lego at home? My kids have Lego. Can I use those? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can use any Lego set, but there's a caveat. And here's the caveat. So for Lego serious play methods to work really well, you want the Lego bricks to have certain specific qualities. What this means is, for example, you want to have shapes that allow representation of some specific objects. So, for example, here this could be used as an airplane wing. You also want some moving bricks in here. So in this case, you have propeller. You might want to have wheels, and you want to have ability to have symmetrical models. So you want to have bricks in pairs. Usually, you don't want to have just one brick of a kind. Um, Also, you want to have, I would say, kind of unusual bricks available that can represent business ideas. And these bricks you wouldn't normally find in standard sets. They are usually a collection of different weird sets. So if you look at this is like a crystal ball set. I don't even know where it was first used. Maybe some Lego fans would know. I mentioned already these green bushes element. I mentioned the gears. So if you think into gears, that is usually something that people use a lot during ideation, because this is something that usually represents either a mechanism at work or a broken mechanism if you just build it backwards. So you also would want some windows as opportunities that could be open or closed, depending how your people think about it, and a couple of other sets. So yes, you can use any bricks, but complex to put together something that works properly, you would need to do a lot of brick picking, and it's usually not worth it. I highly recommend to get the dedicated sets. It just make everything easier. Another thing you want to do, you want to make sure that everybody has the exact same bricks. We talked about democracy, right? We talked about leveling the playing field, and you just can't give people different bricks, because then they might look, they might be jealous. There might be a sense of unfairness kicking in, and that's the last thing you want to do during the workshop. So if you want and have to use some other sets than the dedicated sets, you can, but I would suggest to go for something from, let's say, Lego Creator series, and these small 3-in-1 sets, they can usually serve you well. Just make sure that everybody has their own set and their own identical set of bricks that they can use. So that's the main thing that you need to be careful of, and of course, then you need to be very mindful about what you are trying to do with the Lego. So if you want to just use it for icebreaker, if you want to use it for some creative building, strengthen the team bonding, then you can do it, and you don't need that much of an expertise. You can go for it yourself with just a little research online. If you want some ideas to do something like that yourself, direct message me. We can have a call. I'll give you a few tips how you can do something simple without direct support. However, if you want to go for something that really will move the needle for you in terms of ideation, collaborative decisions, in terms of kind of crafting a new vision for the company or solving difficult problems, I would highly recommend to find a facilitator who's going to help you with. There's quite a few of us around, and we should all be skilled enough to create a design for you that will respond to your needs, that will be actually changing situation for you in a positive way. So that's what I got here. This is the last call now for questions in here. So if you have any questions, any comments regarding this method, please let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. If you don't have a question, please let me know in the comments if this was useful to you, and if you knew about this method already, or if you've learned something new, because of course this is also the way I'm learning. So that's what I have mostly for today. And if you like these sessions, if you like to get information that are related to team collaboration, employee engagement, and of course also learning design and event design, I post about these things pretty much every day on LinkedIn, and I run sessions with interesting guests, usually SMEs, experts on these topics. And I run them in this time, and this time is actually Thursday, 8 p.m. Central European time. And I would like to actually hear from you. If you're interested in a specific guest, if you're interested in a specific topic I should cover next time, bring it on. So that's all from me today. And I wish you a great rest of the day. And see you hopefully next time. Bye.